Phil Kerpen here with Americans for Prosperity, and we've got an urgent video message to you about an upcoming Senate vote this week. I'm joined by my friend Seton Motley of Less Government.
Good to see you, Phil.
The U.S. Senate is expected to vote on Senate Joint Resolution 6 this week. It's a little bit obscure, but tell us, what is this vote all about and why is it crucial?
It's a Congressional Review Act resolution disapproval. What that means, the Congressional Review Act was written to rein in rogue agencies, for which the Federal Communications Commission certainly qualifies. What they did December 21st was impose network neutrality without any legal authority to do so. They tried to do it once before, they were unanimously thrown out of court, they went ahead and did it again anyway. So now, just before it goes into effect November 20th, the House passed in April, and now the Senate this week is trying to pass a resolution of disapproval that will undo the net neutrality order put into effect by the FCC.
Now, what does it mean for our economy if this order is allowed to stand?
Yes, it's it's 1/6 of the internet has become 1/6 of our nation's economy. It's as big as healthcare. It's 13-14% of the whole shebang. So having a all-encompassing, all-encroaching regulatory grab like this is huge for our economy going forward, for jobs, for investment, all that. Net neutrality is designed not to work. It's not intended to work as a regulation. It's intended to work as an impediment to investment. It makes it very untenable for future investment in the internet, whether it's to maintain what we currently got or to improve upon what we have.
Ben Scott, now with the United States State Department, but formerly with Free Press, the major special interest group that's pushed these regulations, he said the internet is no longer a commercial service. It's infrastructure and the government should provide it. Do you disagree with that?
Well, it's very easy to say. That's certainly a Fifth Amendment taking clause thing, because it's almost as if the government would come along and say, thanks for the $1 trillion of investment, we've got it from here. These are privately built, privately paid for internet backbone structures, internet cable structures, internet wireless structures. These are private companies building private infrastructure. For Ben Scott or anyone else to say it's government community property is patently absurd.
Now, I've heard the argument that if government doesn't step in and protect us from the big bad phone and cable companies, they'll start blocking what websites we can go to. It'll be a real disaster. These evil corporate gatekeepers will destroy the internet. What do you say about that?
Well, we've been told for 10 years that we imminently need net neutrality because this will happen. And then for 10 years it never happened, and the internet very rapidly grew into a free speech, free market Xanadu. So what we're told to believe here with that kind of assertion is we haven't had a problem for 10 years. There still isn't a problem. The most virulent pro-net neutrality proponent can't point to an incidence of, here's a net neutrality violation that needs to be addressed. Beyond that, we've already got rules on the books with the Federal Trade Commission and unfair trade practices if they were to do anything. But beyond all of that, if you look around the world, China, Syria, Iran, North Korea, it's not corporations that are blocking content, it's governments. So their solution is to bring in the government to a situation where there isn't a problem. We have a free speech, free market Xanadu on the internet precisely because the last time Congress addressed communications policy, 1996, they said, we don't know what the internet is yet, so we're going to leave it alone. As a result of this lack of regulation, it's exploded into what we enjoy today.
Now let's get to the point. The net neutrality rules were rejected by federal court. They were rejected by the American people, who voted out all 95 candidates who proclaimed that they would support this idea in the last election. This must be crucially necessary if the FCC wants to disregard the courts, the American people, and Congress and force it down our throats. I think Robert McChesney explained why it's so crucially necessary. I'd like to share this quote with you. He said, "At the moment, the battle over network neutrality is not to completely eliminate the telephone and cable companies. We're not at that point yet, but the ultimate goal is to get rid of the media capitalists and the phone and cable companies and to divest them from control."
How very Hugo Chavez of him.
Do you think that's what's at stake this week as the Senate decides whether to stand up to these bureaucrats at the FCC?
Well, absolutely, because the reason the FCC reacted how they did and when they did was, in November of 2010, we had the most historic, less government, less regulation, more accountability election probably in our nation's history. And they were, after that vote and before that new Congress was sworn in, They raced through a completely illegal order that was more government, more regulation, and less accountability. 3 unelected Democrat bureaucrats said, we're going to commandeer control of 1/6 of the economy. This has nothing to do with anything that the American people want. It's in fact the antithesis of what was represented in 2010. That's why they jammed it through in the fashion they did when they did. And we need to undo this because of all the facets of the economy that are struggling. The one facet that isn't is the telecommunications industry, which of course remains, as we said, unregulated. So as they try to rein in and smother various sectors of our economy, this is the one that's remained the most free and the most successful, both from a free market and a free speech perspective. And that's why they want to do this, and that's why we have to vote in the Senate. 51 votes, not 60, in the Senate. Call your Democrat senators and tell them we need your vote to undo this illegal and authoritarian order.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more, Seton. This is a test not just of whether we'll continue to have a free market internet in this country and all that goes along with that, but this is a test of whether we're going to continue to have representative government. And I think it's crucial that any senator who wants to continue to be a legislator take some responsibility, stand up to these bureaucrats, and exercise legislative power by voting yes on SJ Res 6. I think we've adequately addressed the rationale from the other side for moving forward with these regulations. And I want to thank you for joining me here.
My pleasure, Phil. Thank you very much.
Thank you.